Alright then, back in the sun, it's in my face. I apologise if that is really annoying. Got a fresh haircut today, didn't I? I thought, you know what, we've got Newcastle at home. It's one of my favourite fixtures of the season. Gonna be there this weekend if any of you guys want to come and say hello. I'll probably be in the Cock Tavern for a couple of beers. It's a pub around the corner from Stamford Bridge. Gonna get the train up and enjoy a little beverage or two this weekend. I'll treat myself. Newcastle's always been fun. There was actually a fun story when we played Newcastle at home where my dad and I had such a good day we completely missed our stop on the train home and had to get a taxi all the way from Didcot, which is not an ideal place to be on a Saturday night. It's there's one pub and it's opposite the station and it's bloody awful. But anyway, today's video, I've also got a new top. I hope you guys like this polo. Today's video is about the loan army. A lot of you have been asking me because it's the international break and everyone's bored out of their minds because, well, there's no Chelsea to follow, there's no Premier League football. We're going to take a look at the Chelsea loan army. As you can see on the screen, classic George Benson graphics. We've just stuck a load of images from Google onto this. You can see there, this isn't everybody who's out on loan right now. We would probably need like an extra bit of bandwidth to upload a video talking about everybody who's out on loan. I'm going to focus on 10 players in particular who I think could either potentially have a future at Chelsea or had quite a big past at Chelsea, but they're no longer really in the pipeline. Players that we expected a lot from who didn't quite deliver. We're going to go through 10 today, but these on the screen are just a few of the players out on loan right now. So the first person we're going to talk about is a man that we have actually officially sold to Atletico Madrid. It is a transfer that was a loan for now because Atletico spent a lot of money last summer on João Felix from Benfica in order to replace Griezmann, so they didn't want to quite cough up that much money in one sum again in order to sign Chelsea's Alvaro Murata. But come the 1st of July next summer, Murata will no longer be a Chelsea player. He can get rid of what was, for him personally, a bit of a torrid time in his footballing career. And I do want to spend a bit of time talking about Murata because technically speaking, he still is on loan from Chelsea right now. His goal scoring record, it was never really anything that was going to see him go down in history at Chelsea. Yeah, he got a few goals. I remember going to Stoke away and he played incredibly that day. And we won the match. We scored 4 goals. Murata got 3 of them. And I thought to myself, when Murata played so well that day, we've actually got a number 9 for the future here at Chelsea. And as soon as his girlfriend announced that she was pregnant, it was almost as if like that correlated directly to him just falling off the radar at Chelsea. He seemed completely disinterested in his football. And I feel as though if you're a player coming from Real Madrid, you've been on loan to Juventus, you then sign for Chelsea, you've been fortunate enough to not only be a professional footballer, which is a very humbling career to have as an individual, but it's just as if like Real Madrid, Juventus, then Chelsea, and then it's kind of like he just didn't really care so much as to what he needs to achieve and what he needs to do as a professional in a footballing field. And that is the one major gripe that I had with Murata at Chelsea, was that I never really felt that he took his professional status as a footballer very seriously at all. And he was all happy to post a load of stuff on social media, which I've got nothing against, as long as your attitude towards the club and the players around you is exemplary. It's absolutely fine for footballers to have other lives that they live, of course. I'm not here to say that how dare you be in love with your girlfriend on Instagram. That's certainly not what I'm here to do, but I just feel as though he never really took it seriously at Chelsea and he was never able to really fulfill the potential that games like the one at Stoke made it very obvious that he had. He scored 1 goal in 5 matches so far for Atletico. It's one of those where we're just happy to say goodbye to Alvaro, wish you all the best for the future. You've played in some of the biggest clubs in Europe. If you don't quite cut it at Atletico, it's only downhill from there, pal. So player number 2 is Ethan Ampadu. This is a really sad one. When I saw that he was going on loan to Red Bull Leipzig, I looked at that and I thought, this is perfect. This is genius from Chelsea. Send him to a league like the Bundesliga where you see the likes of Jadon Sancho coming over from England doing very well. Leipzig play a brilliant style of football. Their manager has got them playing some of the most attractive football in Europe, and it's a tactical system that if Ethan Ampadu was to get any minutes whatsoever, we would surely see him develop there as a footballer. The reality of the situation is, it is not going very well for Ampadu at all. In fact, you could say there couldn't really have been a worse move for him. The man has not played a single minute in the Bundesliga this season in a Leipzig shirt. He doesn't really look as though there's any real role for him to play within that team, and it is a real shame. I think if there's any player that is currently out on loan from Chelsea who 100% has a future at our club, Ampadu would have been one of the first names, if not the first name, that I would have mentioned within that sentence. So I think in terms of what happens next for Ethan Ampadu, I think Chelsea will definitely have to reconsider, or I don't know the ins and outs of how the loan move to Leipzig actually worked, but if he's not really getting any game time there, I don't see why they'd want to hold the young player back in his career. They wouldn't just let him go back to Chelsea. Chelsea can either find a role for him, which, considering our current flipping injuries, it's just ironic because he got injured as well as Kovacic in the Wales versus Croatia game. Ethan Ampadu could either go back out on loan to, I'd probably say like a team like Aston Villa or a Newcastle. I think that a top level championship club would pretty much only show us what we already know about Ampadu. I think he'd absolutely kill it in the championship. He'd be by far one of the best players in that league. So I think that maybe a lower level Premier League club would be a very natural move for Ethan Ampadu. I still think he's got a future at Chelsea. The fact he can play in either centre-back or within a defensive midfield position, the fact he's so young, he's tenacious when he's on the pitch, he's not frightened to go in for a tackle, he's what I'd like to call a traditional hard nut in the middle of the pitch. So Ethan Ampadu definitely has a future. It's not going so well at Leipzig, and we need to get him out of there as soon as possible. So the next man we're going to talk about is a player very similar to Ampadu in terms of the roles that he plays on the field. Trevor Chalobah, the man who is the brother of Nathaniel, and I think that if anybody would have thought there would have been one of these two brothers with a future at Chelsea, I myself would have said I probably would have thought Nathaniel Chalobah would have been that guy. But Trevor Chalobah is still on the Chelsea books. We sold Nathaniel to Watford, and he's currently on loan at Huddersfield, and he's got himself 1 goal in 9 appearances this season. What I understood of Chalobah from what I've seen of him out on loan before, coming up through the ranks at Chelsea, I always saw him as a centre-back, but right now at Huddersfield, he's playing in more of a defensive midfield position, which again, right now at Chelsea, you can understand and see why he's gone out on loan, because we do have an abundance of players who are very talented in those positions, and there's not really any chance for the majority of players in world football probably to displace a Jorginho or a Kante or even a Kovacic in that central midfield for Chelsea. As for the centre-backs, I think if we're talking about the future for Trevor Chalobah, does he have one at Chelsea? I think the real issue right now, which goes completely against Chalobah, is that there's obviously far more senior centre-backs right now that already do have a future with us. You look at the likes of Zuma, Christensen, Rudiger as well as options that Chelsea have for really good quality centre-backs, and you've also got Tomori, who's come in of a similar age and, well, he's just waltzed into the Chelsea team, hasn't he? And then you look at what we might do potentially in the transfer window, and you would say that a world-class centre-back would probably be on the radar for Chelsea Football Club with, as I've mentioned in previous videos, with quite a lot of money to spend. But I think if we're being realistic, looking forward to potentially a future at Chelsea, I just really struggle to see where it might come. He's doing very well at Huddersfield. He's been impressive so far. He's got himself a goal as well. Let's see where he goes from here. Charlie Musonda has been very, very unlucky with injuries. The sun keeps coming in. I apologise if it's frustrating with my face half being in the sun. I'll try and lean back as much as I can. Charlie Musonda has got another injury that is keeping him out right now of the team at Vitesse. We saw Mason Mount go to Vitesse, and you could kind of say that was the season where Mason Mount really found himself as a footballer. Came back, went to Derby, excelled even more. Now he's being nominated for the Golden Boy Award. He's one of the last 20 on the shortlist, so congratulations to Mason. But keeping the focus on the loan players, keeping the focus on Musonda, he's at a point now where I really feel as though his time with potential to play for Chelsea in the future has gone. Charlie Musonda did show a lot of promise, but I kind of feel as though with this injury now, it's kind of like the final nail in the coffin. He's having knee surgery. You never know what's going to happen with any surgery for any real injury. You don't know how that player is going to come out of it. And quite frankly, with the likes of Hudson-Odoi, we've been linked with Sancho to carry on bringing that one up. You got Willian there, Pedro there still. There's other players in the Chelsea midfield as well who are definitely ahead of him. I just don't see a future for Charlie Musonda at Chelsea. I'm sad to say it. So on the flip side of the coin, one player who is a midfielder who I certainly see a future for at Chelsea is the man currently on loan at Charlton. He's doing bits. He's got 4 goals, 2 assists in 11 appearances for Charlton Athletic so far this season. Conor Gallagher. This guy's the real deal. I genuinely feel as though Conor Gallagher could be one of those players who comes in for Chelsea next pre-season. We saw him feature a couple of times for Chelsea in this pre-season under Lampard. He's definitely the kind of player. He's a self-proclaimed box-to-box midfielder. He can play anywhere across the midfield, and that kind of versatility would be really useful even right now for Chelsea, considering how many injuries we keep getting. Conor Gallagher's still very young. He's got a lot of potential, and he's absolutely smashing it right now for Charlton. He's been one of their standout performers in the Championship, and I think a player with Conor Gallagher's attitude would certainly be someone that Frank Lampard is looking at. If you look at Tomori, Mason Mount, again, the examples last season, Conor Gallagher's got that similar kind of mould. The fact he can play pretty much anywhere in that midfield would be really useful for Chelsea. Will we see him in a blue shirt next season? Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. So the next man we're going to talk about, this one's a bit unfortunate, you know. We signed him from Monaco. We thought, we've signed ourselves a decent player here. He's got 1 cap for France, and I mean, if you get 1 cap for France in this generation, you've done something right. But Bakayoko, I gave him a hard time in pre-season, and it wasn't because I wanted to see him fail and he's an easy scapegoat to just let off a bit of negative energy. Bakayoko, it's just not been the player that we thought we'd spent 35, 40 odd million pounds on, is he? He's on loan at Monaco right now. He's got 1 assist in 5 games. I certainly don't see a future for Bakayoko at Chelsea. If we're talking about Ethan Ampadu coming back and potentially playing in defensive midfield, I haven't actually knows. Sorry about that. You've also got Conor Gallagher, who could be this box-to-box midfielder, and he's currently delivering at Charlton. Yes, Monaco are a slight step up from Charlton, and if we're talking about market value, Bakayoko probably still has a higher market value than Conor Gallagher, but does that really equate to somebody who has got the right attitude to play at Chelsea? I don't think with Bakayoko it's always been like, does he have the right attitude? Which I think with a loan player, there's always questions, and I think that a loan move, particularly away from Chelsea, a lot of it is about attitude and whether you go away and make the most of an opportunity to prove that you're ready to come back and fight for your position at Chelsea. When Bakayoko's been given opportunities, and I bring it back to pre-season, if you look at the 6 things we learnt videos from my Chelsea pre-season, the frustration with Bakayoko's performances, with just misplaced passes, with bad timings, with just looking like a lacklustre footballer, this loan move was a result of not being able to find somebody who's willing to pay what Chelsea would still consider to be Bakayoko's market value. I think if we can get 30 million from Bakayoko, then we might as well just move on and just see it as a bit of a loss. You win some, you lose some. The next man we're going to talk about is the Brazilian. It's Kennedy. He's currently on loan at Getafe. He's got himself 1 assist in 4 appearances so far for the Spanish side. The issue I have with Kennedy is I feel as though he could be a really good player. He's a frustrating player because he's got these moments and flashes of Brazilian brilliance inside of him, and then all of a sudden he just seems to drift out of games. I went to the match against Reading, as you lot will remember, in pre-season. Kennedy really impressed me that game, and I just wonder again, and I bring it back to attitude, which is something that is kind of a theme throughout this video. I don't know if Kennedy has got the right attitude as a professional footballer to succeed in the long run at Chelsea. And again, you look at the left-hand side where Kennedy can play. He can play as a wing-back, he could arguably play as a left-back, left-sided forward, left-sided midfielder. He's very versatile on the left-hand side of the pitch, or you could even use him on the right to cut in. But you look at the players that are coming through, you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi. Does anyone in their right mind genuinely feel as though Kennedy is going to be able to compete with Callum Hudson-Odoi? Kennedy is a young player, yes, but he's kind of getting on a little bit himself now in terms of this potential conversation that we've had with Kennedy for so many years. He's on loan at Getafe. I hope that he does well this season. I really do. Kennedy, I don't see a future for him at Chelsea. He's out on loan now. Good player on his day, but how often do we see that day? So the next player we're going to talk about is Ike Obasi. There was an interesting story. He's currently playing in the 2nd division in the Dutch league for Roda JC. He's got himself 5 goals in 9 games, which is a bloody good return. Even though he's not playing in the top league in the Netherlands, he's still very young, and Obasi is banging in the goals. He's a big lad, he's a big unit, he's a strong player, and I certainly feel as though he's a very good mould for a Chelsea striker. So the issue was that, I don't know how much he's getting paid, but it's quite a lot lot of money, but he wasn't actually getting paid by Roda JC, even though they were supposed to be paying him. They were using the money that they were going to give to him for his wages in order to pay his teammates. So I'm not going to focus on the negatives of that too much. It is a little bit ridiculous. But at the same time, if you're looking at a player who's young, who needs to build a mentality which is adverse to adversity, it's something I've spoken about a lot with the mentality of young players. To have something like that, Ike Obasi's job as a footballer is to score goals on the pitch. Of course he deserves to be paid for that, and if there's a contract that says he needs to be paid, it's absolutely ridiculous that for one stage or another he wasn't paid. The fact is, he's put his head down, he's still bagging in goals, and he's doing his job. And that kind of attitude is something that could see him have a future at Chelsea. Obviously right now, he's unfortunate in the sense that Tammy Abraham has stepped up to the mark, and as a young player, he's doing very, very well. So he's really going to have a battle up against him, but as long as he can keep scoring goals wherever he is, which right now, 5 in 9, is a decent return for Roda JC, we might see more of Ike Obasi in the future. And I'm going to sit in the sun for a minute because I need a bit of sunshine to brighten up the conversation when we talk about Danny Drinkwater. He's going out in nightclubs, he's not made an appearance for Burnley, injuring himself because he gets beaten up, which I can never say I'm an advocate for anyone getting beaten up for any reason. It is a little bit ludicrous, but he was chatting up a rival player's girlfriend, giving it the big boy. Yeah, he's not really been playing football professionally for a while, has he? Danny Drinkwater. It's a shame because he's never really been given a chance at Chelsea. He's never really had the backing of any of our recent managers. Since he signed for Leicester, it's been downhill. If we look at his market value now, Chelsea, no matter how well we negotiate, we're never, particularly with his off-the-pitch antics, we're never going to be able to recoup the money that we spent on Danny Drinkwater. And in terms of, what we're going to do with Danny in the future, he certainly isn't going to be playing for Chelsea when Jorginho is stepping up to the plate and he's been one of our standout performers. N'Golo Kante, world class, nothing more to say. You've got players fighting for positions like Ampadu, Conor Gallagher, who have gone out on loan, or in Ampadu's case, not so much, it's a bit more unfortunate for him. But Danny Drinkwater doesn't deserve a future at Chelsea if he's not going to handle himself as a professional off the field. It's always the case when you're a footballer, it has responsibilities. Newspapers are going to write things about you for anything. You could do the smallest little foot wrong in the public. The next thing you know, you're back page, and all that does is just put your name in a footballing conversation even further down a pecking order because he's not handling himself well enough. He's not had any minutes at Burnley, who we're going to next week. Can't wait for that one. But I just don't see it working out for Danny. Chelsea should try and get him off the books. He's got ridiculously high wages. Who's going to want to play that if he's just going out trying to steal people's girlfriends? It's not going to work out, Danny. And the 10th player that is focused on this video, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Hit the like button if you do. Let's finish on Victor Moses. There are a lot of other players who we've not mentioned. We're going to focus on Victor Moses for player number 10. He's on loan at Fenerbahce, and I'm not going to lie, I really feel sorry for Victor Moses. He's got himself a serious injury. It's like a thigh rupture, a muscle rupture, I believe, in his thigh, which is a nasty one. It could see him out for quite a long time. And he's playing at Fenerbahce in the Turkish league, a very competitive league. But Fenerbahce are a big club. And Victor Moses, he's only played 77 minutes this season, but he got a goal and an assist on his debut. And since then, he's been injured. So very, very unfortunate. But at the same time, we've seen Chelsea go with wingbacks at a stage during this season so far with Frank Lampard. And Victor Moses, no matter whether we think he was ever good enough for Chelsea or not, if we're looking at his best qualities and his best season at Chelsea, it was when he was playing in that wing-back role, the right wing-back role that he used so well under Antonio Conte. If Frank Lampard reverts to it again, even though he's obviously injured right now, it's all hypothetical chat, but Victor Moses might be thinking, well, I could have done that for Frank, but right now he's on the injury table in Turkey. It's not good. So my question to you guys is, Moses could have been very good at Fenerbahce. We could have been talking about him as a player that could come back next season for us. He's 28 years old now. I feel as though this loan move was kind of his chance to prove to Lampard, and if he's injured, he's not going to be able to do that. So what do we do with Moses next season? Do we just sell him and make what we can of him whilst he's still got a few good years left in him before he gets too old? Or do we take a chance and take Victor Moses back next season and see what he can do again for Chelsea? Or are we looking to improve with the likes of Reece James? Kind of think we are. So I just finished recording and realised that we missed out on a very important one, Juan Castillo, who is currently on loan at Ajax under-21s. The issue with that is there is an option to buy for Ajax at the end of this season, which could see him sign permanently for Ajax from Chelsea. Now, Juan Castillo is only 19 years old. He's a player who's got a lot of potential, and quite often Chelsea do very well with the way that they manage the players that they send out on loan for the duration of time to the clubs they're sent to. I really apologise for the sun. I know it's annoying. We may have put in an option to buy for a loan move, particularly for a young Dutch player in an Ajax team that's still very exciting. Juan Castillo could very easily want the move, and Ajax could therefore pursue it, meaning that Chelsea will have missed out on another talented player. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comments down below, and I apologise that I missed him out. Let me know your thoughts on the loan players in the comments down below. As I said, I only focused on 10. There were plenty more that we could talk about, and I would love to know your thoughts on anyone who I did particularly miss out on. I just thought that these 10 were the easiest ones to start up the conversation about, and I'd love for you guys to carry it on in the comments down below. Let me know who you think could break into the Chelsea team who's out on loan next season. And as I said yesterday, I've got a Discord server now. It's $1 a month. It's where we get to chat all the time. I've got it on my phone, got it on my laptop. I just sit in there messaging with you guys. If you want to join that, link to that is in the description. Thank you so much for all of the support. So excited that the Premier League's coming back. The international break, I know it's a little bit dull. It's a little bit annoying. I've tried to upload as many quality videos as I can for you guys during the international break. Today's one's been fun. I'm looking forward to seeing how these loan players do for the rest of the season, and I will catch you all with a new video tomorrow.